Long before the era of modern aircraft, there was a time when airships ruled the skies for several years. Airships, also known as dirigible balloons, are a type of aerostat or lighter-than-air aircraft that can navigate through the air under their own power. Similar to hot air balloons, classic airships are powered by gases such as hydrogen and helium. Therefore, an airship is essentially a large controllable balloon with an engine for propulsion, using rudders and elevator flaps to steer and accommodating passengers in a gondola suspended below the balloon. However, before airships became popular, hot air balloons took to the skies first. The first hot air balloon was flown by Joseph and Étienne Montgolfier in the spring of June 4, 1783 in Annonay, France. The Montgolfier brothers used a balloon made of silk lined with large paper, allowing it to float up to an altitude of 6,562 feet. Then, on September 19, 1783, during the Versailles era, the Montgolfier balloon carrying a sheep, a rooster, and a duck flew for 8 minutes in front of Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette, and the French palace. Less than 2 weeks after the Montgolfiers' breakthrough flight, French physicists Jacques-Charles and Nicolas Robert made the first unmanned ascent with a hydrogen gas balloon on December 1, 1783. Jacques-Charles combined his expertise in making hydrogen with Nicolas Robert's new method of coating silk with rubber. This balloon became the forerunner of the modern airship. As time passed, many people began developing technology to operate giant balloons capable of accommodating many passengers. In 1852, Henri Giffard began installing a small steam-powered engine to a propeller and gliding through the air for 17 miles at a speed of 5 miles per hour. Giffard's airship was not only equipped with an engine but also a propulsion system and rudder to facilitate maneuvering. It's no wonder that Giffard's invention is included in the list of the greatest inventions of its time, and he was awarded for constructing the first full-sized navigable airship. The invention of the airship advanced further with the addition of a gasoline-powered engine by Alberto Santos-Dumont from Brazil in 1898. Then, in 1900, a German military officer named Ferdinand Zeppelin invented a rigid-framed balloon or airship, later known as the Zeppelin. On July 2, 1900, he flew the world's first rigid aircraft, the LZ-1, carrying 5 passengers near Lake Constance, Germany. The balloon for his airship was cloth-lined, had an aluminium structure, 17 hydrogen cells, and 2 15-horsepower Daimler internal combustion engines, each rotating 2 propellers. Zeppelin's airship was about 420 feet long and 38 feet in diameter. During its first flight, it flew about 6.7 miles in 17 minutes and reached an altitude of 1,300 feet. Zeppelin's airship model became the prototype for many subsequent models. To develop aerial navigation and the construction of his airships, Ferdinand Zeppelin founded Friedrichshafen, or the Zeppelin Foundation, in 1908. Airships themselves are classified according to their method of construction into rigid, semi-rigid, and non-rigid types. Rigid airships have a rigid framework covered by an outer skin or envelope. The interior contains one or more gas bags, as well as cells or balloons to provide lift. Rigid airships are usually unpressurized and can be made in any size. Most Zeppelin airships belong to this type. Next, there is the semi-rigid classification, which has a kind of supporting structure, but its main envelope maintains its shape by internal pressure from the lifting gas. Typically, semi-rigid airships have an elongated keel that is usually articulated along the bottom of the envelope to prevent it from bending in the middle by distributing the suspension load into the envelope while allowing for lower envelope pressure. The last is the non-rigid airship classification, which we commonly know as a hot air balloon. These non-rigid airships rely entirely on internal gas pressure to maintain their shape during flight. Unlike rigid designs, the gas envelope of non-rigid airships does not have compartments. However, they usually still have smaller internal airbags. As altitude increases, the lifting gas expands, and air from the ballonette is expelled through valves to maintain the hull shape. To return to sea level, the process is reversed. Air is forced back into the ballonette by taking air from the engine exhaust and using additional blowers. In addition to being classified into several parts, airship construction also consists of several components, such as the envelope, which is the structure of the hot air balloon, including the textile containing the buoyant gas. Internally, two ballonettes are generally placed at the front and rear of the hull and contain air. However, some rigid and non-rigid airships have been metal-clad, with each type using a thin, gas-tight metal envelope, no longer an ordinary rubber-coated fabric envelope. The next part is the most important, namely the balloon or ballonette, which is an airbag inside the outer envelope of an aircraft that, when inflated, reduces the volume available for the lifting gas, making it denser. Balloons are usually used in non-rigid or semi-rigid airships, typically with several balloons located at the front and rear to maintain balance and control the airship's altitude. Not only the envelope and balloons, but the lifting gas also plays an important role in operating an airship. Generally, the lifting gas is hydrogen, helium, or hot air, which is certainly capable of lifting the balloon to fly in the air. Thermal airships use heated lifting gas, usually air, in a manner similar to hot air balloons. Below the balloon is the gondola, which is the compartment containing the passengers and crew operating the airship. Inside this gondola are propulsion and controls, as well as engines with fuel for propulsion. When fuel is burned for propulsion, there is a progressive reduction in the overall weight of the aircraft. In hydrogen airships, this is usually addressed by simply releasing the hydrogen lifting gas. In helium airships, water is often condensed from the exhaust and stored as ballast. Some other parts of an airship include fins and rudders to control the direction and stability of the airship, the empennage or tail section of the aircraft, navigation and communication equipment such as GPS and radar, and landing wheels. Although airships have fairly advanced technology and unique designs, that doesn't mean they're immune to accidents or incidents. One incident that befell an airship was the Hindenburg incident, which occurred on May 6, 1937 at the Lakehurst Naval Air Station in New Jersey, United States. The LZ-129 Hindenburg was a German-operated Zeppelin airship used to transport commercial passengers. This airship held the record for being the largest airship in terms of envelope volume. Unfortunately, the aircraft was destroyed by fire in just a few minutes while attempting to dock at a tiered mast. The accident killed 13 passengers, 22 airship crew members, and 1 ground crew member. The disaster attracted public attention, including radio journalist Herbert Morrison, who also witnessed the incident from the landing field and reported the news the next day. Various theories have been put forward to explain the cause of the initial ignition and fuel that led to the subsequent fire. The widespread publicity surrounding the event severely damaged public confidence in large passenger-carrying airships and marked the sudden end of the airship era. This incident also ended the era of giant rigid passenger-carrying airships. Moreover, some of the reports were later included in news broadcasts, giving a false impression to those accustomed to seeing live reports on television. After the incident, the German company then took back the metal frame of the Hindenburg airship, which was then used to produce war supplies for World War II, which was happening at the time. Although the era of hot air balloons has now ended, these vehicles once ruled the skies with their unique technology and design, inspiring engineers and scientists to create other air transportation in the future.